All right, boys, let's talk some more trade stuff. I'm pretty sure I've used this exact title for a video before. Yesterday, we had like a 2-hour window where it was like, wait a minute, are the Kings about to trade for Siakam until Shams was like, no, actually, that fell off a bit. We have reports from Chris Haynes, and I believe there was other ones as well, saying that they expect Dejounte to get moved, and the Hawks have made basically everybody available except for Trey and Jalen Johnson, which, yeah, that makes sense. And I think we all know by now that Dejounte was not as good on defense as Atlanta was hoping he would be. I just talked about this in like the end of my Laker video because there have been those rumors there. But look, I mean, I just looked at Halliburton's 18 assists against the Hawks last night. Some of them are the Hawks just getting beat because they're not getting back because the Pacers play super fast. And yeah, you've definitely got your plays where like Capella and Okongwu are just higher up on the screen, whether it's like a high drop or whatever, or you've got like heavy rotations out of the corners, and then the Pacers just lit them up basically. So it's not all DeJounte's fault that the defense has not been good in Atlanta. He can still get in passing lanes. Granted, sometimes the gambles go the bad way for him. Look, I would like to believe that on a different team, different scheme, all that, DeJounte can still be part of a good defense. Anyway, as far as DeJounte rumors, I mean, there's been some Lakers stuff, although there's also been some stuff that says Austin Reeves would have to be in the move, which at that point, the Lakers are just not doing that trade. There's been like a little bit of, would the Sixers do it? There's been some Knicks stuff as well. I think I've mostly seen that from Mark Stein and Chris Haynes. The one thing there, though, with the Knicks and the Sixers, and I mean, I'll get into like DeJounte's potential fit with both teams in a second here, but it's just like those teams could definitely offer you picks and like contracts and all that. But as far as getting a player who is as good as DeJounte but just plays differently and is perhaps more of a natural fit with Trey, if that type of move is going to happen, it's tough to see it happening from the Knicks or the Sixers. If the Knicks are serious about wanting DeJounte, of course the Fournier contract goes in there. You have to imagine some picks would be on the table as far as protections or potential swaps or whatever. I don't know. And I'm sure they'd have some conversations about Quentin Grimes. I do not think the Knicks would want to move DiVincenzo or Josh Hart or whatever. And so if it's Atlanta, it's like, sure, expiring contract, picks, good stuff. Do you feel great about it deep down, given just how the last year and a half has been? No. So that's like kind of the hang up here, you know? But you got to do something because what the Hawks have now is just not working. Would DeJounte be a good fit on the Knicks? The one thing the Knicks could tell themselves is, well, we have OG to be our put on the opposing team's best guy on the perimeter defender, or potentially anybody with how versatile OG is. And so DeJounte can be more of the guard, the second best guy, and also still get in passing lanes, because DeJounte gets his steals. His on-ball defense is not what it used to be, but he can get in passing lanes, he can gamble and all that stuff. Of course, Mitch is hurt for the rest of the year, and what he was doing on defense for him was huge. If we think about the offense with DeJounte, with the Knicks, I mean, he would be the third option behind Brunson and Randall, so that would mean he would be in a more of a catch and shoot, catch and drive sort of role when those guys are out there. And I mean, yeah, he's having his best three-point shooting season, so okay. He would still want to get his own pick and rolls off, of course, getting into his pull-up too and his floater and all that. Could probably shuffle lineups a little bit to where he can like lead the second unit even if he's starting. And when you think about what the Knicks would probably have to give up between the Fournier contract, potentially Quentin Grimes, who's having a weird year, even if I think it's fair to still be optimistic about him long-term, but perhaps fair not to be optimistic about him long-term. And then like picks and whatever, like the Knicks could look at it as we're not giving up anything crazy, and it's a talent upgrade definitely. At the same time, it's just, and I'm going to basically say the same thing with Philly, it's will DeJounte's three ball hold up, because we know what it's been throughout most of his career, and also will the pick and roll possessions that you have to give to DeJounte because you want to get the most out of DeJounte that you can, will that hurt your overall thing a little too much because now Brunson and Randall have the ball a little bit less? Like, can you combine that in some way? Now, there has been some Knicks Brogdon stuff as well, and I imagine that would be easier to fit on your team than the DeJounte one, because the Brogdon one would just be like Fournier and less draft stuff pretty much, and you could just put Brogdon in the quickly roll, you call it a day, right? Whereas DeJounte would be more minutes, more possessions, starting role, and sometimes the right move is a not as loud move. I don't know, we'll see what the Knicks want to do. Of course, you got to take Brogdon's health stuff into account. But again, for Atlanta, it's just, are you comfortable with that type of a return? More of a bunch of stuff trade. Good stuff, but still a bunch of stuff. So we'll see there. Look, let's have a big picture conversation about the Hawks real quick. While we can all acknowledge that the trade DeJounte fit on offense was not perfect, I'm talking as if DeJounte is no longer on the team. Obviously, he still is right now. And if we can say, well, listen, DeAndre Hunter has never totally hit as like a gunslinger from three or as like a playmaker at the forward spot, right? Although he is shooting 40% from three, I will give him that one. Even with all this said, the Hawks offense has still been really good the past couple years. It's pretty much because of just Trae Young. And I do think that the conversations around Trae can sometimes sway a little too negative. And yes, sure, sometimes he tosses up a 30-footer where I'm like, didn't know about that one. But too often I see people like point to Trae Young as the number one reason why the Hawks have been bad this last season and a half. And I'm just like, what are we doing right now? If without him, they'd be horrible. Now, if you want to say what about his defense, I mean, Trey has improved defensively. His effort is good. He knows what to do as a team defender. Like, yes, there's going to be limitations just because he's small as hell. And so, yes, you do need to put big athletes around him for the defense, but every single team has to deal with building around their star in some way. And I think Jalen Johnson is the right type of guy long term there. I do wonder if Atlanta will be hesitant to go for another sort of pick and roll heavy guard next to Trey. Now let's go to the Sixers, and similar to the Knicks, like I said, it's not going to be a crazy return from a player standpoint. It's going to be more so a bunch of assets type of trade, if the Hawks want to go there, because Philly's got the picks from the Harden trade, and they've got nothing but expiring contracts. Safe to say Marcus Morris is definitely getting moved in any sort of salary filler thing. Tobias is a potential one, although Tobias is good. So they do need somebody else to just take some pressure off of Embiid and Maxey, specifically for a playoff setting. Regular season-wise, they're going to keep racking up wins, although they did just get destroyed by the Knicks, so okay. Well, for one, I do think there's a little bit of like, would Philly actually go for Siakam speculation right now. As far as Dejounte, look, the rationale for Philly trading for Dejounte, assuming that this stuff works for Atlanta, they could just tell themselves, we need another ball handler. No, we do not expect him to be like our shutdown on-ball defender, but with how good Embiid's rim protection has been this year, we can make it work. Batum's, still role player extraordinaire and all that. And offensively, another pick and roll operator to diversify our offense a little bit. And we assume, or we hope, that his 39% from 3 on 6 a game this year is the new Dejounte as opposed to what it was before this year, which was just not that great from 3, if we're being honest. The downside is that the 3 ball slips back to what it's been previously, and he doesn't get to the rim that much because, that's just, he's never really been like a high free throw attempt guy. And it's just kind of this awkward thing of like, well, this dude wants to run pick and roll all day, but we want to run Maxey and Embiid stuff all day. And also his threes are not dropping in like that, and it's just kind of awkward all around. So I don't know, we'll see. I know the Lakers stuff has been there for Dejounte, but they got other stuff to figure out right now, man. Let's talk Siakam for a little bit. So again, we did have like a 2-hour stretch yesterday that was started and ended by Shams, where it was like, oh crap, are the Kings about to trade for Siakam on January 5th as the Raptors are in Sacramento? But then it died, and speculation from pretty much everybody, including me, is one of two things. It's either Keegan is not in the deal for the Kings, or Siakam would not commit to Sacramento because, of course, Siakam's got the looming free agency, which does give him a bit of power when it comes to trade negotiations, no doubt. The return on the OG trade would suggest that the Raptors want to do more of a players-based return as opposed to a heavy picks-based thing, but of course you can only deal with the market that you are given, and obviously the Kings should not trade Keegan Murray. The dude's awesome. Sure, some nights he's a little more passive than others. Some nights he drops 25 points flowing off of the Sabonis DHOs into pull-up 2s, pull-up 3s. I do want to do a video about the middle of the Western Conference in a little bit, so I'll save my larger Kings thoughts for then, but I will say that I do think if we want to have a big picture convo about the Kings, then I think if they ever want to get to that next level as a team, I think they are going to need the best possible defensive power forward that they can find who can be an athlete and help on weak side defense, helping out Sabonis and stuff. And yeah, Siakam can definitely help in that regard. No, he's not like Jaren Jackson as a help defender, but you know what I mean. He's certainly better than that, than Harrison Barnes or Trey Lyles would be. So, okay, look, with Siakam, I just did a whole thing on Siakam the last time I did a trade video, so I don't want to, lose my mind with this, but, okay, everybody's scared about the three-pointer. I do think we're forgetting a little bit of how good he is at, operating off the dribble within the three-point line. Yes, I know that, I think it was the bubble where his spin move became a little bit of a meme because the Celtics were kind of prepared for it, but, look, Siakam can do a lot more than just sort of play off of ball handlers and get his shot created for him. He can put the ball on the floor, he can make things happen. I remember when Fred was there, they would run the Siakam-Fred pick and roll, but it would be Siakam as the ball handler, And of course the other way around as well. And so I do think he could help out pretty much anybody that he's rumored for, whether it's, he's not going to the Pistons. There's no way Siakam's going to be yeah, I'll re-sign with you guys. But Sacramento, Indiana, Philly, there's been a little bit of chatter. He could help out with anybody, but it's just a matter of, is the three-pointer a little too rough on top of his age, the future contract, what you'd have to give up, all negotiation things, of course. I suppose we can talk about the Warriors Kuminga stuff for a little bit. He played 36 minutes last night. He played 34 minutes in the game before the, blown fourth quarter. He plays 19 minutes. Quote comes out, the whole thing. He was in the mid-20s for a couple games before that one as well. Look, of course he gives them the downhill juice that they are desperate for, whether he's, when he's able to, screen on and off the ball, get his cuts on. He's had, some just great slashing moments of, attack off the catch and then you're gone, or put Jamal Murray in foul trouble. He's had some back downs in the post that have looked pretty good as well. Sure, the sort of possession to possession consistency of did you make the right swing pass and did you close out to this guy or did you get around the screen fast enough? That stuff is still not 100% there with Kuminga every possession, but also sometimes he nails that stuff as well. Like, I think very pretty highly of Kuminga. And yeah, I think he should continue to play a lot of minutes. I know yesterday's thing prompted the whole, like, will Kuminga get traded thing? And I mean, I think Siakam was the most popular just thing to imagine there. But just, I mean, if Kuminga was really available, I feel like you'd have over half the league trying to get in on that one. But we'll just see.